Welcome to the Wire to Wire podcast. As always, it's me, your host Yusuf. Now, without further ado, let's just get right to it. So, Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr recently made some comments. Now, I'm going to play you guys a clip of what he had to say, and then I'll come back and share my opinions on them.
The key there is where are we right now organizationally? And that's why I said what I said the other day. Like, we just want a chance. Last year we gave ourselves a chance. We know we are not, where we were 5-6 years ago. But we did win a championship, 3 years ago. And that felt like kind of a post-glory years title, we weren't quite ourselves, but we were good enough to give ourselves a swing at the plate. Everything fell our direction. We went and got a ring. That was pretty cool. Last year was pretty cool. Now, Steph got hurt. Minnesota, we lose. But to go on that run, to beat Houston, to be in the Final Eight and give ourselves an opportunity, that's what we want this year. And there's no reason why we can't give ourselves that opportunity. I just don't want anybody to think like that we're all disillusioned and we're thinking like, hey, we should be competing for titles year in and year out with San Antonio and Oklahoma City the next few years. That's not realistic, So what does that mean?
All right, so you guys heard what he had to say. Now, I found these comments to be ridiculous. If you're not playing to compete and winning is not the main expectation for this season, then why are you wasting the remaining years of Steph Curry's prime? The guy is playing his heart out. He's giving maximum effort. And we're seeing him, as of late, deal with injuries and little knick-knack injuries that come as a sign of age. So why are you putting him through all that wear and tear and wasting his prime years if you don't have the expectation to have to win? If he's going to remain in Golden State, I'm sure his goal is he wants to win championships. So at least put him in a position to win championships either by retooling the team or reconstructing the team to at least try and stay competitive. But this idea that you cannot expect a championship or to be able to compete for a championship every season, okay, so then what are you doing? Even if you have a year where you're competing for a championship and it doesn't follow through, he doesn't have the time remaining in his career to have to sit through and wait it out. You guys need to figure something out with the remaining window that he has to be playing at a high level. And also, too, I'm sorry to say, but Steve Kerr's comments honestly come off as though he's being a defeatist, that he's willing to just hang it up and surrender. And I don't believe that that's something the organization or even the players want to hear. So I'm wondering, does Steve Kerr even care to be a head coach? Does he even want to remain in that position? Because these comments make me wonder if he's even really committed to winning like that. And also, too, you have Jonathan Kuminga just sitting there on the bench. What is the plan with him? Are you guys going to work him into the rotation and make him a focal point? Or are you guys going to continue to just underutilize him? But I have no idea what this organization is doing. And that brings me to another point of what I want to discuss, which is Draymond Green. Now, I understand when you win 4 championships with a player, there's a certain level of affinity and loyalty an organization might have to that player. But what do you do when that player is no longer a value add or even contributing to the team and locker room culture? I don't believe that Draymond Green has been a source of positivity for that Golden State Warriors team. And I believe that now that their winning days are behind them, it's time to start really taking a magnifying glass and looking at what he's done. Let's look at it. Him punching Jordan Poole and knocking him out. That completely damaged Jordan Poole's psyche and his confidence. They had a young, talented scorer in Jordan Poole that with the right level of mentorship and development, that he could have possibly taken some of the pressure off of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, and he could have shouldered the offensive burden on some of the nights. We saw how effective he was in that NBA Finals, and they won in 2022. So Jordan Poole was a young prospect. Maybe he was just young, immature, a little bit stubborn, but still, the talent was there. There's no doubt about it. With the right type of leadership and mentorship, maybe he could have matured. Maybe he could have grown. But Draymond Green essentially shattered the kid's confidence. So I believe he costed the organization there. And if you look at the conduct and the way he's behaving, getting into shouting matches with Steve Kerr, he can't control his emotions. The constant getting ejected when Steph Curry is out, he ends up getting ejected out of the game. So they need to figure out, what are you going to do about Draymond Green? Because at this point, he is more trouble than the value than he is. And even though we could look at it and say, well, hey, they won 4 championships with him, how much more could they have won if Draymond Green wasn't someone who just constantly had emotional outbursts? The only reason why I'm bringing up this Draymond Green situation is because I'm looking at it from this perspective. You have a transcendent star in Stephen Curry who is entering the back end of his prime. He's actually not even entering. He's already there. He's on the back end of his prime. Who knows how many good years he has left? They need to try to maximize their opportunity to win with him. So there is a certain level of urgency they need to operate with to make sure he's surrounded by talent. At this point, it shouldn't be expected of Stephen Curry to have to carry that team and also carry a guy like Draymond Green. And if there is no expectation to win, then what was the point of even trading for a guy like Jimmy Butler? I was under the impression, as the basketball world was, that you made the trade for Jimmy Butler to be able to compete for another championship. So with what Steve Kerr is saying, did Stephen Curry get that memo? Did Jimmy Butler get that memo? Do they understand that they're not supposed to expect championships? Are they aware of that? And if that is the case, and this is what Steve Kerr believes, and this is an isolated opinion in the Warriors organization and in that locker room, then maybe it's time for him and the organization to part ways. Maybe it's time to get a new voice in there, a new coach that can do things differently. But my issue with Steve Kerr has been the lack of adjustments. The way that they played 10 years ago is not effective now because you don't have a Steph Curry who is 10 years younger. Stephen Curry 10 years ago could do a lot of running off the ball and try to make space to get open shots. But at this stage of his career, he cannot be expected to have that level of activity and movement off the ball. And he can't have that expectation as a ball handler to make plays and quarterback the offense. He needs someone to take that pressure off him. 11 years ago, they won their first championship. 10 years ago, they won 73 games. And 2017, 2018, they repeated as champions, right? But then in 2022, they won. So it's not as though their last championship was a far distant memory. They won a championship just 4 seasons ago. June 2026 will be 4 years since their championship. So they have a history of winning recently. They just need to make some adjustments. But for Steve Kerr to say this, to me, it sounded very defeatist. And I'm wondering, is the organization and him and the players all on the same page when it comes to that? Or is he an isolated voice that holds that view? But I don't know how much more time Stephen Curry has playing at the level that he's playing at. But the Warriors need to do something drastic. And maybe that means parting ways with a guy like Steve Kerr and bringing in a new vision and a new direction for that team. But that's all I got for you guys today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your people. You guys can also follow me and the podcast on social media. The links will be in the description as well as pinned in the comments. You guys can also check out my books. The link will be in the description and pinned in the comments. Until next time.